It's Tuesday, July 7th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. An ambulance is part of a deadly highway collision near the Confederation Bridge. A day after the announcement, how will the multi-billion-dollar sub-buy impact Halifax?
It's mostly hot summer days ahead this week, with humidity rising late in the week.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. 3 people are dead after a 2-vehicle crash involving an ambulance closed a section of New Brunswick Highway near the Confederation Bridge today. CTV's Derek Haggett is in nearby Port Elgin with what we know at this point. Derek?
Todd, at 9:11 this morning, members of the RCMP's Sackville detachment responded to a 2-vehicle crash in Melrose, which is located roughly halfway between Port Elgin and Confederation Bridge. Mid-afternoon, the RCMP confirmed 3 people had been killed in the crash. Police say the crash occurred when the driver of an ambulance traveling from Prince Edward Island collided with a transport truck. A 77-year-old woman from Montague PEI, a 56-year-old man from Warren Grove PEI, and a 23-year-old woman from 9 Mile Creek PEI were killed in the crash. All were occupants of the ambulance. The driver of the transport was sent to hospital with serious but not considered to be life-threatening injuries. A spokesperson for Prince Edward Island EMS says they are deeply saddened by the tragedy and they are providing support to staff who are dealing with the heartbreaking collision. The highway leading to and from Confederation Bridge was closed for hours this morning and afternoon, while traffic was diverted to a rural route near Murray Beach Provincial Park. Some caught in long lineups were told by first responders the severity of the crash.
Just that it was a very serious accident, and that's about all they would add to that. But when we were tied up for at least an hour, and there was all the way over the bridge, traffic was backed up all the way back to the toll barrier.
Members of several RCMP detachments and local volunteer firefighters attended the scene, as well as numerous provincial agencies. Both vehicles involved in the crash have been sent for a mechanical inspection, and police say the cause of today's deadly crash is under investigation. Todd.
All right, thank you, Derek, in the Port Elgin area for us this evening. Now, the Premier of PEI issued a statement this afternoon. In it, Rob Lance says Prince Edward Island is a small province, and losses like this are felt deeply. Today, we stand together in grief. He finished his statement by offering condolences to the families of the victims. A 72-year-old woman is in hospital with serious injuries in Halifax after she was struck by a driver of a pickup truck while in a marked crosswalk on Quinpool Road. Police say she was crossing near Vernon Street when she was hit by a pickup truck early this afternoon. Emergency crews took the 72-year-old to hospital with what are described as serious injuries. The male driver of the pickup truck remained at the scene and was issued a ticket by police. The collision forced the closure of a section of Quinpool Road for nearly 2 hours while investigators gathered evidence. The road reopened around 4 o'clock. A man is dead following a crash in Nova Scotia's Annapolis Valley. This happened yesterday. A dirt bike and a dump truck collided around 9 o'clock last night on Prospect Road in Morristown. It's just south of Berwick. The driver of the motorcycle, a 30-year-old man from Aylesford, was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the truck was not injured. The cause of this crash remains under investigation at this hour. It was a significant announcement, albeit light on details. Still, a day after the submarine contract was announced, there is plenty of promise, hope, and speculation about what a deal could mean for Halifax. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has more.
Halifax is home to Canada's East Coast Navy, a branch of the military that is about to grow significantly.
This is a transformational project for our skilled trades professionals.
The Canadian government is about to put pen to paper on a contract with German submarine builder TKMS for up to a dozen subs. Delivery of the first 4 is expected by 2034. It's anticipated over 100,000 jobs countrywide will be tied to the deal.
I think it's reasonable to expect that there will be very substantial activity here in Halifax for decades.
Glooscap First Nation has a strategic partnership with TKMS, and Chief Sidney Peters says they are ready to play a role in one of the largest industrial projects in Canadian history, saying, together with our partners, we have built an Indigenous-led industrial framework designed to create lasting economic opportunities, strengthen Indigenous businesses, and develop the skilled workforce that will help build and sustain Canada's submarine fleet for decades to come. The submarines will bring an estimated 30 to 50 years of work from the construction of initial infrastructure to long-term maintenance, meaning skilled tradespeople will be in high demand.
We're seeing the pendulum swing, from those choosing to go the university route to those choosing an apprenticeship.
Premier Tim Houston expects this sub-deal to stimulate the economy in many different ways.
There will be significant investments that flow into Nova Scotia as a result of this announcement today. There's no question about that.
Spurring further growth connected to the country's largest naval community. And Todd, it's going to be years before there are submarines in the Halifax harbor here behind me, but the work to have facilities ready for those submarines is going to start much sooner. Todd.
All right, no doubt. That's Jonathan McGuinness in Dartmouth for us. And later in the show, Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston, who you saw there, will be with us to talk about how his province might benefit from all that work. And you could read more on the website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Video of one man's racist rant recorded at a Halifax Costco store has sparked an investigation by the police hate crime unit. The city's Muslim community says it illustrates Islamophobia on the rise. And a word of caution, some of the viewers out there may view this content as rather offensive. CTV's Callum Smith reports.
This was the scene Saturday afternoon at the Halifax Costco. A man appears to follow 2 women wearing hijabs, aggressively shouting at them to leave the country. Then a bystander confronts him.
You own Costco? No. You own no.
Then the man swings in the direction of another Muslim, a man filming the encounter. And apparent death threats follow.
We're killing every one of you here, every one of you. You we're killing every one of you.
The footage was sent to the National Council of Canadian Muslims.
Islamophobic hatred, anti-Muslim hatred. We don't have to harangue over the terminology, I suppose. I think Canadians know when they see this kind of thing happen, they know exactly what they're seeing. Telling people to go back to their country, death threats. Again, we don't have to accept this.
Muslim leaders are calling on politicians to condemn what happened and support the fight against Islamophobia.
Educations and, raising awareness and speaking about it and, and speaking against it out loudly. When we see it, becomes a responsibility upon all of us as Canadians.
Halifax Regional Police is appealing for help to identify the suspect.
It was reported that a man was yelling racially offensive language and slurs at a family inside the store. We believe this incident to be motivated by hate.
It was a disturbing videos, but it was just what went in my mind was another misinformed person about Islam, about Muslims.
Despite the troubling nature of the video, the local mosque wants to welcome the woman who confronted the man.
The lady, she's, she became the Nova Scotian heroes. So again, on behalf of the Muslim community, thank you very much.
Saying the majority of Canadians would condemn the suspect's behavior. Now, the local imam says while Islamophobia is on the rise, incidents like this are more rare here in Nova Scotia, but they need to be condemned. Now, there is no formal statement or interview coming from Costco at this time, but a representative tells me they're working as quickly as possible to identify the suspect and ban him from all Costco locations, all while working with police during their investigation. It's worth noting, Todd, there are no charges laid at this time.
Okay, Callum, thank you for that from the News Center this evening. After 20 years on the air, a Halifax radio station has been silenced by cuts. News 95.7, the talk and news broadcaster, is among half a dozen outlets shut down today by owner Rogers. Other radio stations closed are in Vancouver, Calgary, and Kitchener, Ontario. There are also staff cuts at City TV stations across the country. Yesterday, Rogers announced it paid nearly $5 billion to become the sole owner of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. They run the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Raptors, Argos, and Blue Jays. There's a live look at the historic train station in Macadam, where it's 26 degrees. We're going to have a story about that place coming up in a few minutes' time. But first, let's go to the Weather Center. CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell standing by with what has been a beautiful day and a nice-looking evening.
Yeah, I think for those who like a hotter summer day in the Maritimes, this is probably more to their liking compared to what we had at the end of last week, when it was really that stifling combination of both heat and humidity. Temperatures this morning were actually fairly comfortable, mostly around the high single digits and low teens. And then here's a look at where temperatures topped out today around the Maritime region. There was plenty of July heat, with many communities reaching high temperatures into the mid to high 20s and some into the low 30s. Now, there were some areas, coastal areas, not uncommon for us, of course, here in the Maritimes, where things were a little bit more moderate, and that includes around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick and parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. Taking a look at temperatures now for this evening, it's still kind of warm to hot for most of the region. There's a little bit of humidity in the air, but not much, so humidex values are, in most cases, are only making it feel a degree or two warmer than the actual temperatures. The humidity will be rising a little bit later on this week. We can take a look at that here. It should be around the same level for tomorrow, and then it rises a little bit into Thursday and Friday, so that's when you might notice a little bit more mugginess to the air. But there is a weather front coming through on Friday, so after that moves through, there's going to be some drier air that moves in behind it, so humidity levels are going to be falling back down for the upcoming weekend. So we do get a little bit of a refresher to the air around the Maritimes for next weekend. Taking a look at things on radar and satellite, there is a low pressure system sitting just off the eastern seaboard of the United States. It's bringing a chance of showers to parts of the southwest of Nova Scotia for tonight, and then generally around the Atlantic coastal areas for tomorrow as it moves south and east of the region. But that's not going to be a widespread rain or showers for the Maritimes. Cloud outlook for tonight. A good portion of the region will be clear sky with some fog patches developing overnight. There will be some cloud cover present in the west of Nova Scotia, especially in the southwest, because of that coastal low. That does mean, though, of course, that there should be some pretty decent night sky viewing conditions for much of the region. It's the last quarter moon. It's 52% illuminated, but it doesn't rise until after midnight. So maybe look for it in the planet Saturn above the southeastern horizon, the pre-dawn hours. You should be able to spot the planet Venus, though, setting on the western horizon this evening. And two great passes from the International Space Station coming up this evening and tonight. The first at 9:45 p.m., moving from the southwest to northeast, and the second at 11:22 p.m., moving from the west to the northeast. Both 8 minutes long, and both rise to a fairly high point in the sky, which always makes it easier to see, Todd.
Yeah, and it's always fun to take a look at that zipping by. Thank you, Kaylin. We'll see you a little later for the full forecast. A new bridge is being built in a rural Cape Breton community, replacing an aging, crumbling span. So why are some people fighting it? CTV's Ryan McDonald explains.
The bridge that spanned the main road through Catalone Gut is being replaced, and not everyone who lives in the area is happy about it.
And it's a contention of our group is that they're missing the overall picture.
Members of a community group say the old bridge, which was about 100 years old, and the rail line, which was built before that, had negative impacts on the estuary system in Catalone Lake. Their councillor agrees.
Where the sediment is filling in underneath the bridge, it clogs the channel between the ocean and the lake.
The community group hoped their concerns about fish and other sea life would be addressed with an environmental assessment.
Our efforts right now are to stop the construction of the new bridge until an appropriate assessment is done.
Their councillor has asked the province for armor stone and dredging of the lake. He adds having a bridge here is needed because it connects one community to the next.
And you don't want to see that, out for too long. A lot of people use it. It's definitely an important passage. At the same time, there's an environmental aspect to the construction, which I hope the province, hears.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Department of Transportation told us today that the department's responsibility is limited to infrastructure maintenance and replacement, and that as a result, this project will only involve the construction of a new bridge. The department added that an environmental assessment is not required for a project of this scope and that it currently holds all necessary regulatory approvals. The community group, meanwhile, plans to continue meeting with their MLA and adds they have been in talks with environmental groups like Ducks Unlimited.
So we want experts on hand that are willing to contribute their time and their money so that we can have this done appropriately.
The province says that it remains committed to finishing the new bridge while protecting Nova Scotia's natural environments, and that work is expected to be finished by the end of the year. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Catalone, Nova Scotia.
This next story shows how rising prices have made things very difficult. We're used to hearing about the growing demand of food banks. Now, a Fredericton mother has opened a spot to meet a different need. Here's CTV's Anna Madden.
You build a tower. Jillian Cross knows well the cost of diapers as she raises 2 young children.
When I bought my first box of diapers, I was in shock about how expensive it was.
That's why she started the Fredericton Diaper Bank, connecting parents in need with supplies for their little ones and themselves.
So I wanted to be that safety net for families because I think it's really important. If you need diapers, you need diapers.
People reach out to her through the Fredericton Diaper Bank Facebook page, and she says she delivers 2 to 3 kits per day, filled with diapers, breast pumps, and other maternity needs. And already she's hearing about the difference it's making, like for one woman.
She told me after that this was the difference from her child having to just wear, normal pants and have accidents in them.
As affordability concerns rise, diaper banks like hers have popped up around the Maritimes, from Halifax to Truro to Sydney. Oromocto Food Bank's executive director says extra support for parents can mean the world.
We are living in an economic time and in a society that's teaching us that we're all going to have to work together to succeed.
Local mother Megan Weir says it was the kindness of the Fredericton community when she and her husband moved from Ottawa a few years ago that inspired her to volunteer with the diaper bank.
The cost of diapers and other baby supplies is ridiculous, honestly. It's so expensive, so I understand how hard it can be.
Cross says they need bigger diapers between sizes 4 to 7 most. Anna Mandan, CTV News, Fredericton.
2 Canadian Navy ships have set sail for Eastern Europe. Families and friends said goodbye to loved ones aboard HMCS Edmonton and HMCS Moncton as the 2 coastal defense vessels steamed out of Halifax this morning to join other NATO partners in the North Atlantic for Operation Reassurance. The ships will be assigned to 2 main objectives once they join other NATO members in the Baltics.
So primarily searching and conducting explosive ordnance disposal and any sea mines we find. Secondary tasking is going to be the protection of critical undersea infrastructure, such as pipelines or undersea cables.
The 4-month tour has the 2 ships with their 90 crew members returning to Canada just in time for Halloween.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
As it marks its 125th anniversary, there is optimism that the Macadam train station, the grandest still standing in the Maritimes, has a bright future. CTV's Nick Moore shows us why.
The architectural grandeur of the Macadam train station has endured since 1901. Its historic standing as a key connection point for Canadian Pacific Rail passengers in and out of the Maritimes remains celebrated. And the completed installation of a new $1.5 million HVAC system, along with roof-mounted solar panels, signals a bright future.
This is a celebration by all means for us.
Frank Carroll is a member of the Macadam Historical Restoration Commission, which was part of a ceremony this afternoon marking the train station's 125th anniversary and the completion of the major energy-efficient upgrades.
It's really been a 3-year process with lots of challenges, especially during times when it was difficult to get contractors, a shortfall of that skill set required all the way through.
The new cooling and heating systems are difficult to spot on the building.
That was one of the goals, to make things as unobtrusive as possible and retain the heritage look of the building.
We are so delighted to be able to have this building now fully operational with heat and cool temperatures, and we are ready to move the station forward with not just operations in the summer, but operations throughout the year.
It also opens the door for more events and gatherings in the building, along with the ultimate goal of reopening the hotel and the train station's upper floors.
It's still a long road ahead of us, but projects like this are kind of what's helping us to chip away and, take small bites of that big elephant that's the restoration of this building. It's a massive building, and the restoration is going to be a massive project. So my stance on it is to kind of try to take these bite-sized pieces and just keep chipping away until we're at something that's a little bit more manageable for us.
A relic of the past, which now has some reinforcements for the future. Nick Moore, CTV News, Macadam, New Brunswick.
Thank you, Nick. I bet they had pie to celebrate. We've done stories on the pie. It's that good there. Still ahead, does the sunshine continue through the week? We'll have the forecast. Premier Tim Houston joins us to talk submarines. But first, funding firefighters.
To do that and to do it safely requires a certain type of training facility.
A new program aims to bolster volunteers at community fire halls. We'll have that story next.
This is your Campfire Conditions Report, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. And due to some hot and dry conditions, most counties in New Brunswick right now are not allowed to have a campfire. The exceptions being St. John County and Charlotte County, where campfires are permitted between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. For the province of Nova Scotia, campfires are currently permitted between the hours of 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. And for the province of Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently allowed, with domestic brush burning only allowed between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Keep fires small and under control, and never leave a fire unattended.
The urgent call to train volunteer firefighters is being heard. A new program will mean recruits won't have to travel too far to train to protect their hometown. CTV's Hafsa Arif has the details.
For many volunteer firefighters, helping their community starts long before the sirens sound. It starts in the classroom and on training grounds.
To do that and to do it safely requires a certain type of training facility.
Which is why the province is backing a plan for a number of centers, making it easy for volunteers to complete hands-on training.
The main focus for the fire service currently under this review is to have regional areas so people don't have to travel as far, not one central training center.
But Nielsen says the biggest challenge isn't just preparing firefighters. It's having enough of them available when emergencies happen. Many rural departments depend almost entirely on volunteers, and during weekday working hours, only a handful may be available to answer a call.
We always wish we could pay them more, but I think in these communities, the financial capacity is a restriction. But as a province, we're opening up the legislation, first time in a couple decades.
Nielsen says as call volumes climb and population increase, some communities may need to rethink that model.
If we have a structure fire, and in most cases you need 15 to 20 people to operate at a structure fire, and we certainly wouldn't have that in the daytime.
For now, the province is focusing on improving training as the immediate priority. But a broader review of the fire service continues.
We're looking for ways that we can be focused on the things that matter, the issues of the day, but also a long-term view as well on how we can support them financially. So those discussions are ongoing.
As the province promises to continue improving fire services, departments across Nova Scotia await solutions to one of the biggest challenges, having enough firefighters answering the call. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
So that brings us to tonight's CTV web poll, and we're asking, do you think your local fire department has enough firefighters? Yes, no, or I'm not sure. We'd like to hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. We're back with Kalen's forecast on CTV2 right after this. Well, anyone who's been to the Halifax waterfront will tell you Pier 21, the Canadian Museum of Immigration there, is not a small building. So you can appreciate the size of Queen Mary II, perhaps the world's most famous ocean liner. The Cunard vessel is in Halifax, where, of course, Samuel Cunard was born. The statue of him nearby, Pier 21, and we certainly welcome all those visitors making the trip across the pond.
And I'm sure they're enjoying the weather that we have right now currently in the Maritimes, which we know wasn't always the case for those visitors who came in a little bit earlier in the season.
Yeah, that's right.
And at times conditions were, well, let's just say a little bit more inclement.
Yeah, you think June.
Yeah.
You're talking about May and June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at weather conditions across the country, and then we'll go back to our forecast here in the Maritimes. Looking at west right now, pretty comfortable temperatures. Vancouver, Victoria. Vancouver right now sitting at around 24 degrees. Moving into the prairies, boy, they have been dealing with a lot of active weather over the past couple months. Everything from flooding rains to large and damaging hail storms. Today, though, weather conditions a little bit quieter for them. Edmonton sitting at 26, Saskatoon at 24, Winnipeg at 23 degrees. In the north, Yellowknife right now, sunshine at 22. Weather alerts out for the Northwest Territories are mostly concerned with some wildfire smoke from ongoing wildfires. There's still some heat around eastern areas, not matching what we had at the end of last week, but still quite hot moving up through southern Ontario and into southern Quebec. Both Montreal and Quebec City right now sitting at 29 degrees. This evening in the Maritimes, 27 at Fredericton, 26 at Charlottetown, 23 at Halifax, and quite warm as well in Newfoundland with St. John sitting at 24. And there's some heat warnings out for parts of Labrador because you can see Happy Valley, Goose Bay right now sitting at 31. Taking a look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. So for a good portion of the Maritimes tonight, a fairly clear sky with fog patches developing overnight. There will be some exceptions because there is a low pressure system just off the eastern seaboard of the United States, a little bit closer to the southwest of Nova Scotia. So there is going to be some cloud cover tonight and a chance of some showers, especially Digby, Yarmouth, Shelburne counties. Now that low is going to be moving to the south and east of Nova Scotia as we go through the day on Wednesday, and that will bring a further chance of showers Wednesday morning to the south shore of Nova Scotia, with a chance that as we move through the afternoon and towards the evening that some of those showers could move up towards the Halifax area and then eventually up towards the eastern shore before that weather system begins to pull away towards the east, and that would take the showers away from the province. If any showers do show up, not expecting a tremendous amount of rain from them. We're looking for some more rain in the forecast. In most cases, it might be a few to several millimeters. In the forecast for Thursday, the chance of showers is mostly going to be the province of New Brunswick, but they're very isolated in their coverage, so they do come with a low risk of some thunderstorms. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow. They're going to be out of the south for New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Easterly, though, beginning around Halifax County and into the southwest of Nova Scotia. And there, it'll be a little bit breezier, especially if you're down around the coastal areas, with some of the peak wind gusts getting up to around 30, 40, 50 kilometers per hour. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight for most of the Maritimes should be pretty comfortable for sleeping conditions. Most of them high single digits, low teens. In the forecast for tomorrow, high temperatures in the north of New Brunswick. More July heat, lots of high 20s, low 30s, between 26 and 30 on the coast. Near 29 for Fredericton for tomorrow, 24 for St. John. For Prince Edward Island, it's going to be high temperatures around the low to mid-20s, so pretty comfortable on Wednesday. Eastern areas of Nova Scotia with high temperatures that'll be mostly around the low to mid-20s, though directly on the Atlantic coastline, a little bit cooler, between around 18 and 22. 21 for the city centers, Halifax and Dartmouth for tomorrow, 24 for Truro, and 26 for Amherst. In the Annapolis Valley, high temperatures near 24 degrees. And then on the south shore of Nova Scotia, just a little bit cooler because the increased cloudiness and chance of showers. Most of the highs there between around 19 and 22. Taking a look at the extended forecast for New Brunswick coming up on Thursday. Isolated shower, risk of a thunderstorm. And then on Friday, some scattered showers for the province. Then, as we move into the weekend, it's sunshine right now for both Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures still very warm, but humidity levels will be lower. Remember, humidity climbs a little bit to the end of this week and then lowers for the upcoming weekend. More sunshine in the forecast for Monday and Tuesday with a chance of showers. For Nova Scotia in the forecast for Thursday, mostly sunny. It looks like it's going to be a hot July day. There'll be some showers moving through on Friday. They'll be scattered in their coverage. And then in behind that weather front, temperatures will be warm on the weekend, but humidity will be lower. Sunshine to start next week, and then a chance of showers on Tuesday. And for Prince Edward Island, more hot days ahead. Thursday, sunny, highs near 27. On Friday, temperatures come down closer to 24 with some showers expected. Low to mid-20s on the weekend, lower humidity. Sunshine in the forecast for the start of next week, followed by a chance of showers on Tuesday. Todd.
Notice that the water temperature is ticking up at the beaches, too, so that's
15 degrees in the Northumberland Strait right now.
That's great. Okay, thank you. We'll see you later in the show. Next, Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston joins us to discuss how the submarine contract announced yesterday could shape his province. Stay with us.
Mornings with Aaron and Peter. Hey, win $1,000 when you play the $1,000 Minute weekdays at 7.
And this week, for being caller 10, you'll automatically win $50 to spend at St. Louis Bar and Grill.
Welcome back on this Tuesday evening. Well, it's billed as the largest defense procurement in Canadian history. Yesterday's announcement by the Prime Minister sets in motion a submarine contract that could be worth, at the end of it all, $100 billion to this country. Mark Carney chose to reveal the decision in Halifax. Premier Tim Houston was there, and tonight he is here, and we're happy to have him.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
TMKS, ThyssenKrupp, the German consortium, will build this if the contract, if they work out all the details. You're familiar with the company. Was that your thinking that the bid process would
it was like
go that way?
It was two good bids for sure, two good companies. I've met with both a couple of times and understand their value proposition, but we're just really excited about this. Is a huge opportunity for our province, and it's kind of part of the economic plan we have out there to build our economy. Of course, our natural resources opportunities significant, energy opportunities significant, defense huge opportunities, and we're seeing that start to materialize. So we're really happy we have a partner in the Prime Minister who wants to help move our economy forward, and this is a good announcement for our country. It's a good announcement for Nova Scotia.
So we know that the fleet of 12 will be split between the West Coast, Esquimalt, and here in Halifax. But the fact that the announcement was made here, does that lend any weight to perhaps more of, I don't know if it's maintenance work or more, facilities being built on this side of the country, given the proximity to Germany?
It might. I mean, a couple of the interesting things that the Prime Minister said is that the value of the contract could be $100 billion, big number, but the company will invest that much back in the Canadian economy. So there's opportunities there for sure around space, around supply chain. So I do think that, Nova Scotia is Canada's capital of defense. We have the Navy, the Air Force, the Army. We have everything and huge investments in assets over time. So when we see defense spending, that's good for us. I do believe that Nova Scotia will get kind of, if I say, more than our fair share in jobs and opportunities. So really pleased the Prime Minister was here and announced it here. We like that when the Prime Minister comes to town for sure. But I think the overall signal is that this is good. And the word the Prime Minister used when people say, well, what does it mean money-wise and jobs-wise? What the Prime Minister said about the amount of investment that will flow to Nova Scotia will be extraordinary.
Okay.
And we like that.
So the math breaks down something like $24 billion to buy the actual vessels, right? And 86 thereabouts billion dollars over the lifespan, and they're talking 30 to 50 years. The Prime Minister didn't mention any specifics. He said those details would come next. You mentioned, I think it was in your Instagram post that I saw, that a maintenance facility will be built here. Is that for sure?
That will be, I mean, the expectation certainly is that, there'll be a West Coast presence for subs and maintenance and an East Coast presence, so that would be here. But I think the thing that's really interesting about the maintenance facility, not just for the subs that are here, it could be six or seven subs here, but we're dealing with one of the largest submarine manufacturers in the world, and obviously all the NATO partners that run these subs as well. That maintenance facility could be a very busy place and attract a lot of maintenance work too to Nova Scotia. So it means jobs across the spectrum. It means opportunity for our province, and that's a good thing.
There's something mentioned like 15,000 jobs. Would that be for the region, or is that something that would be sort of metered out across the country?
Yeah, well, I think nationally they talked about 100,000 jobs. Yeah. But when you start to look at the opportunities, and this is a thing that I think is exciting for Nova Scotians, when you start to look at the jobs and opportunities in energy, in natural resources, and in defense, the drone fleet that will be hosted here in Nova Scotia, the Coast Guard, base that's here too, the submarines, the investments overall in defense, it's just good. And we need good. We need to move forward, so these are good things to happen.
We had Mayor Fillmore on yesterday, and I asked him to put it into perspective compared to, say, the shipbuilding procurement program that we're familiar with on the East Coast. He seemed to think it's bigger than that. Is that your understanding?
Yeah. This is the largest defense procurement in our country's history. It is significant for sure, and that means generational opportunities for people. Somebody graduating or changing careers. It means that there'll be opportunities here in Nova Scotia for good jobs, $100,000 a year jobs, doing different things, and work their whole career here and stay here, grow their family.
There was a bit of controversy at the time when the shipbuilding contract was awarded, and the province at that time gave the builder Irving a substantial amount of money to upgrade facilities and that. Is there a responsibility from your government? Is there a monetary layout that you're going to need to put up front to get some of this going?
The negotiation will happen with the company, but there's not that I'm aware of. Like this is a federal procurement. It's to meet our NATO obligations, so it's good, and I'm happy. When we think about I'm proud as a Nova Scotian. I grew up in a military family, so there's a personal. But I'm not unique in Nova Scotia. We have so many connections to military families, people who served in our family, so it means something to us. And I think that matters as well. This is a place in the country where enlisted personnel can wear their uniform and be proud to do it because we're proud of their service. So all of that is really important as we go to attract more defense investment and build off that.
When would you expect to see shovels in the ground? I know the contract is still being negotiated, but are we months away? Are we years away?
Yeah, I think the expectation, the hope is that the contract would be fully negotiated by the end of the calendar year, and then things would start. We'd start to build up maintenance facility. And I think we're already seeing some of the quiet groundwork being laid to do that on property and location and stuff. So this is it's an interesting time for our province. Obviously, we have some challenges today, but the future of our province looks extraordinarily bright when we look at the economic opportunities. This is part of it.
When we talk about more growth, more people coming to Halifax in particular, and I'm sure you've already heard this, we've already got some of the highest rents in the country.
Yeah.
We still have housing, exceptional needs in housing, a transit system that isn't operating to the point that I think anybody is satisfied. You're going to pile a lot more people on top of that. Is the province in a position to be able to handle all?
Well, we've been planning for that and building for that. Of course, there's work to be done, but we came up with our housing plan, our 5-year housing plan, I guess 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. We're already exceeded the target. So the housing starts are up. There was a report out this week that I think Nova Scotia led the country in housing starts. So a lot of that's happening too. We had to deal with some projects that have been kind of jammed up and stuck for decades, really. So we're trying to deal with that and get that built. So that's happening. The vacancy rate is creeping up. That's a good thing, but because there's more supply coming on the market. But we accept the challenge there. We're planning for it. We're executing on the plan. We're executing on the plan to grow the economy, and these things go hand in hand for sure.
Finally, we know that the Department of Defense had bought a large swath of land by the old Dartmouth refinery, Valero oil tanks. Is that where you expect that things are going to be built?
There's talk for sure that would be for a maintenance facility, but all these things, when the contract is done, they'll figure that out. But there are options, and the options are all good for Nova Scotia.
All right, Premier Tim Houston, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I know we'll be talking about this for years to come.
I can't wait. It's good.
It's the Premier of Nova Scotia, Tim Houston. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. In health news, changing your diet and sleeping habits could prevent dementia. CTV's Brianne Foley has more in tonight's edition of The Lifeline.
An anti-inflammatory diet may lower dementia risk, even in people with early signs of Alzheimer's. That's according to a new study published in the journal JAMA Network Open. It followed more than 1,800 adults aged 60 and older in Sweden who did not have dementia. Researchers assessed their diets over 6 years and measured 3 biomarkers associated with Alzheimer's disease. After 15 years, the researchers found that people whose diets had lower inflammatory potential were less likely to develop dementia. That held even in individuals who had higher biological risk. An anti-inflammatory diet describes an overall pattern of eating associated with lower levels of chronic inflammation in the body. Experts say it amounts to eating more vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and fruit, and less processed food and red meats. A debate on message boards and health-oriented websites if rotisserie chickens are actually healthy. A Vancouver-based registered dietitian said that rotisserie chickens are often made in-store and are not always labeled with nutritional information. That can make it challenging to understand how much sodium is in the chicken through the seasoning and brining. Many of us may be staying up later these days of summer, perhaps to watch those late World Cup games. But that can derail your sleep schedule, and experts say getting those Z's is a critical part of health year-round. Sleep medicine doctor Shafin Hart says having a regular sleep schedule is just as important, if not more critical, than the amount of Z's achieved at night.
Not only do people feel better if they have a regular schedule, but we also think this decreases their chances of cardiovascular events later in life and dementia.
Hart says if you're planning to be up later than normal, try sleep banking. Take a nap no longer than 30 minutes in the early afternoon, and avoid late, heavy meals and alcohol, which can both impact sleep. With health and medical news, I'm Brianne Foley for The Lifeline.
In our business report, the Dow ended the day down 130 points. Rogers Communications, as we told you earlier in the show, made its final move in a push to be the sole owner of all of Toronto's major sports teams. Let's get details now from B&M Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez.
The company's buying the last 25% stake in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. It's a $4.5 billion deal that will see Kilmer Sports sell to Rogers, which already owns the Blue Jays, and then will own the Raptors and Maple Leafs. The deal is subject to league approvals. Hours after the announcement, Rogers announced it's cutting 230 jobs and closing radio stations in Vancouver, Calgary, Halifax, and Kitchener, Ontario. Canada's merchandise trade surplus hit $4.2 billion in May. That's the largest surplus in 4 years. Total exports were up just under 1% to $77 billion. Canada exported more metal ores and non-metallic minerals, and there were higher sulfur exports because of restricted shipments in the Strait of Hormuz. A KPMG survey reveals 42% of Canadian manufacturers say they have or are considering moving production to the U.S. Just last week, Washington announced it's not renewing CUSMA, which has shielded many Canadian companies from American tariffs. A majority surveyed also said they have paused, reduced, or canceled capital investment projects. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 70.45. West Texas Intermediate up to 70.44. Western Canadian Select is down, but not by much, to 53.25. And the TSX gained 60 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Kayla Mitchell on the weather deck with one more look at the forecast.
Very pleasant out here this evening. Bit of a breeze. Temperatures here in the north end of Halifax not quite as warm as other parts of the Maritimes at this hour because we are catching a little bit of that effect of the winds coming in off the Atlantic Ocean waters. Our viewer picture for tonight is a spectacular one. This is coming in from Roseanne Nicholson. I want to thank Roseanne very much, and was taken at Port Lorne in Nova Scotia. It's along the Bay of Fundy coastline in the Annapolis Valley. And what we're looking at here is a big towering cumulus cloud. Looks like that is one step away from becoming a thunderstorm. I want to thank Roseanne again for sending that picture in. Port Lorne for tomorrow. Maybe a little bit of fog around first thing in the morning. That'll be dissipating. Then a mix of sun and cloud and a high temperature near 22 degrees. So the valley, if you get away from the coastline a little bit, highs will be closer to 24, 25. Day planner for tomorrow around the Maritime region. We do start off with some fog patches that'll be dissipating. There will also be a chance of some showers around the southwest and south shore of Nova Scotia because of that low pressure system that is going to be moving south and east of that province. In fact, as that happens during the day on Wednesday, we could see some of those showers move up the south shore towards Halifax County and even parts of the eastern shore. Now, away from Nova Scotia, a lot of high temperatures in the region tomorrow. Will be around the mid to high 20s, even some low 30s in the province of New Brunswick. Let's find out what's ahead on your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, we're bringing a little camp magic to the studio.
The creative folks from Brigadoon Village will show us how to make a favorite summer craft.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally tonight, the world's most livable city for 2026 has been revealed. Drum roll, please. And your winner is Copenhagen, Denmark. It's taken the #1 spot on the annual list from the Economist Intelligence Unit. It's the second year running. The Danish capital beat out Vienna, Austria, which previously had a 3-year run at the top. The organization ranked 173 cities around the world on a number of different factors, including education, stability, healthcare, infrastructure, and culture. Vancouver, the only North American city to crack the global top 10. It came in 9th. Maritime's not on the list. We think it's a pretty good place to live, though, don't we? That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco is back here at 11:30. CTVNewsAtlantic.ca and the app have updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Till then.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.